Abusia, you more about the back of countryman CTV so now a military officer retired at the Ensembi Ababa Tumo Busia or Chilem a there a helicopter crash see on say a military no a delay and sample no mutimi esa chia kwakudru bebia na incident na asino e sounds biem enyema bi e wo won so a e wo se anka military no eya omo so antimi anye ene enyema bebre keka ho a enu nti no ema military no eye tese asede omo antimi andi eho dwuma bia na busia eye military officer yi e de ensem akukudam any revelation bi aba batum ene enyema bi abusia otim se ehu yi papa e wo se military no etimi ehwe niema bi na omutimi find solutions to a whole lot of things and sample na atwenchen foforo bi etimi ama hom ne so ye bompa ye se bi saa ensi bi na ensem a military man aka no abusia yenkonkotie na we interview no na ekoso e wo joy news eho ana interview chencherenche ekoso bu abusia yenkomra yenkotie ensem a military officer abiebie so wi a ede yaka bi ato aboso pepe.
And Wing Commander, let me bring in Ken Officer Baji, retired, who is also with us. He obviously has followed all that happened. Thankfully, a lot of this was live, and so we saw it. And the reason why this conversation is important is that we must say as a country that we don't want to repeat this. We must learn the lessons if there are lessons to be learned, and ensure that we put in place measures, real actionable steps to ensure that doesn't recur. Based on your assessment, we had a lot of time now to look at the facts as we know it. Based on your assessment, on your experience in the Ghana Armed Forces, what's your own reading of the way this incident in the immediate aftermath was handled? One, securing the site. Two, the search and rescue efforts, all which would have fed into the quality investigations that you expect after an incident like that.
First, good evening to your good self, to my senior friend, Wing Commander, and my very learned friend, Bright. Let me express once again sincere condolences to all of us and the bereaved family. Now, I might have indicated already on Newsfile that I'm writing a paper. So the information that I have is a bit different from some of the points that are being put across, including by Evans. What is clear to me is that 14 minutes after the heli took off at 0912, it went off radar. My Wing Commander will explain to us technically that when a plane is off radar, it does not mean that it is lost. It is just that the radar cannot find it. So in this case, maybe the Z9 was flying below 1,000 feet, thereabout, based on what radars were operating at any material time. The ETD or ETA was 10:02, not 10:12. You should have taken the heli 50 minutes, all things being well, to have arrived at Obuasi. So when it went off radar, the air traffic controllers, both at Civil Aviation and the Air Force, were going by international practice, waiting for 30 minutes to lapse, and if they had not heard from the plane.
And the 30 minutes is important because I saw that in the manual that we've all been reading today.
Yep. Yes.
That governs
and then
the response.
Another 30 minutes, 1 hour. So by 11:12 thereabout, that was when the distress call was placed. And I have information that the Ghana Air Force called Central Command and asked them or told them that we're expecting this helicopter to have landed at Obuasi by so and so time. Do you have any wind of it? Can you, if you like, look for it? Now, what the GOC Central Command did was then to contact the 4BN forward operating base at Obuasi, that this plane was scheduled to land at Long Clay Stadium. So if by that time they had not seen the plane, then they should go to the AGC Stadium to see perchance whether it had landed. In the course of time, the news started filtering out. Remember, we are talking of 1,100 hours plus. So the general officer commanding, in addition to deploying the FOB to look for the plane in and around Obuasi, as a commanding officer of FOBN, to now deploy a search and rescue team. It's on record, the record that I have shows that the search and rescue team deployed by 4 Infantry Battalion got to the crash site by 1400 hours. Now remember that the eyewitnesses who saw the plane crash saw it much earlier.
Yeah.
Around 09:53, 55, the plane had crashed. The locals who were in the forest had seen it. They had started moving to the crash site and had started taking away broken parts and so on, which are critical exhibits. So in this case, you cannot fault, let's say, the security services because of distance. Indeed, compared to Atiwa, which took 3 days to find the crash site, this crash site was found the same day you and I were here when the coffins arrived in the night of the 6th.
Yeah.
Unless maybe I'm confused. Again, you remember on Newsfile I said, look, under this circumstance, a second helicopter should have been deployed to try and identify or locate the crash site. Indeed, the second helicopter, the Mi-17, which was positioned at Tamale to support Operation Maidaburi, that is Boko crisis issues, was directed or tasked to move to Kumasi, which it did. Then another plane, fixed wing, the CASA 125 transport plane, left Accra with the investigation team. Now that CASA 125, which sent the investigation team on the same 6th of August, was the one that returned with the coffins. However, given the time that it took from 14, in fact, as I said, the military got to the scene 1400 hours. The regional minister got to the scene at about 1500 hours with the fire service, with the police service, national ambulance service. Given the time that it took to find all the body parts, remember, we are not talking about full bodies. We have been very diplomatic to say we have found bodies. But they were largely body parts that were being pulled from, call it the slope or the ditch. It took time. The regional minister had also intended that if it was possible, they should find the black box. Now, that was when nightfall caught up with them. So therefore, when it became obvious that the site had been found, it was no longer necessary for the Mi-17 to fly into the air. The original idea was to locate and then, if necessary, to now use a winch or whatever to lift the bodies into the plane, Mi-17 Russian, and fly them directly to Accra. So under the circumstance, they had to bring the bodies, as we know, and the conditions that some of us are saying was not dignifying, in the ambulances, contrary to practice, but you can put dead bodies into ambulances, provided that after that, you sanitize the ambulances. So that was what was done. Central Command had deployed 2 military ambulances, one of which I'm told was recently directed to be sent to Kumasi by the CDS on his visit when the command said, oh, we don't have enough ambulances. So the 2 military ambulances plus 1 from National Ambulance Service 3 were the ambulances that were used to return the bodies, if you like, to the airport, where the CASA 125 that had brought the investigation team was waiting to now take the bodies, transfer them from the sacks into proper body bags, and then into the aircraft. Indeed, the coffins that we saw in Accra were all arranged during the flight. The bodies were put in the coffins on the flight. The Ghana flags were draped, or the coffins were draped with the Ghana flags during the flight. So these are some of the circumstances. It is not very accurate that the search team didn't get there in good enough time. Indeed, we are thankful that the villagers or the locals helped in identifying the crash site, although in some instances, they have also contaminated and disturbed the crash site, which will make the work of the investigators difficult. Then again, we need to note that the investigation team, the preliminary investigation team pit, not the revolutionary pit, was in Kumasi on the 6th. So all the bits and pieces were falling in place. Now, talk about body bags. There were body bags at Sikamine.
Yeah, I mean, before I go to body bags, on the question of holding off the crash site and securing it, what have you learned? Because yes, the team got there, and when we got there, indeed, there were military officers, there was NADMO, there was police, there's fire service, yes, but people still had access to the site. I mean, overnight into the morning. What really happened there?
Well, I need now to, go back to my sources and say, okay, when you retrieved the bodies, the 8 bodies or body parts, did you leave a team overnight to secure the place, which is very critical in the procedures that Bright is referring to? Accident site, crime scene site, and indeed, let's say, I'm very careful not to attempt. I have a fairly good idea what might have happened, but that is not why we are here, and it's premature. Because if we are hasty, we might just end up, embarrassing some people. But the point is that the team that went there did the job for the day. I'm not sure whether the military planned that it was necessary to leave an element, whether a section, 2 sections, whatever the element is.
In the night, yeah.
But, fortunately, this site, like Wing Commander said, is not savannah. We have all seen it is only accessible virtually along that footpath. And the least mistake one made, as your reporters have said, and you slipped, you were going downrange. So all that the security team, that's the cordon team, needed to do was not even to cordon off the whole area, but to identify the footpaths leading into and out of the crash zone, and then to secure them. Now, as of now, I cannot tell whether the military did that or they all withdrew, and then the following day went back, because the security presence should also assist, the investigation team to continue with the forensic investigation. However, on news file I mentioned at the time that national security appeared to me and still appears to me to have played a key role.
Yeah.
Even if you withdrew the military, even if, on assumption that you withdrew them, and there were national security elements in and around the area, let's say under the circumstance, it was okay. But ideally, you should have had armed personnel.
And I can confirm that there was national security operatives there, a lot of them. In fact, they were led by the Deputy Ashanti Regional National Security Coordinator himself, who was on site.
So these are the facts that I think help a bit to contextualize anything you can call search and rescue and preliminary investigation team.
Yeah.
In between the two, when you come to the nitty-gritty things that should have been done, you could see maybe there were a few gaps, a few lapses here and there. That all of us must not run away from, because, as Bright has been emphasizing, the idea is to ensure that, and in my paper I've said that the next time it happens, we must be ready, we must be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.